So we're trying to work out how we can sketch a graph from a quadratic equation. We got the first one, y is equal to x squared plus x minus 2. If we look at this graph that we've sketched on Desmos, oh, that's not actually quite the right. Oh, that's right, because you plot it on your screen. Let me just do it myself. X squared plus x minus 2. So x squared plus x minus 2, I believe that's what it was, wasn't it? Yeah. We can see that we've got basically 4 coordinates that we're interested in. We're not going to look at one of them, but we're going to look at the points at which it crosses the x-axis, -2 and 1, and we're going to look at the point at which it crosses the y-axis, which is 0 and -2. Now there is a fourth one, which is the turning point. It's called the turning point, or you can say the minimum y value. It's called a turning point because it's the point at which it changes direction. And you can find this by completing the square, but we're not going to look at that today. So let's just recap how we did this. So first of all, if we said that at the let's say at the y-axis is when x is equal to 0, because here x equals to 1, then it's 0.5, and then here x equals 0. So all points at which x equals 0. So what is y when x equals 0? Well, y is equal to 0 squared plus x minus 2. Oops. So that should say 0. Well, x is 0, right? So y is equal to -2, and that's what it is. As I said, this is when x is equal to 0. So what about the x-axis, when it crosses the x-axis? Well, that's when y is equal to 0, because again, anything above or below, anything below the x-axis, y is negative. Anything above the x-axis, y is positive. So it's going to be when y is equal to 0. And plotting this graph, if we sub this 0 into that equation there, we've got 0 is equal to x squared plus x minus 2. So this is how you solve quadratic equations in general. We have this quadratic equation on the right-hand side, and that's equal to 0. So let's move the 0 to the other side. X squared plus x minus 2 is equal to 0. In order to solve a quadratic, we need to get it into the form of 2 things in brackets, where we're going to have x and x, so we're going to have plus or minus some sort of number. If a, this number here, was not 1, then it'd be slightly more complicated, but we're looking at when a equals 1 at the moment. To find out the values here, we want to know 2 values that add to give b, which in this case is 1. And the same 2 values must times to give c, which in this case is -2. So 2 values that add to give 1 and times to give -2. Okay, so let's think about this. So it's going to be 2 and -1. 2, -1. When you add them together, they give 1. When you times them together, they give -2. So those are the values. So x plus 2, x minus 1 is equal to 0. All I've done is I've taken this amount here and I've just rearranged it, I've factorized it. So now we can solve it, because if all of this is equal to 0, either this is equal to 0 or that is equal to 0. So x plus 2 is equal to 0, or x minus 1 is equal to 0. So that would mean that x is either equal to -2. Remember, this is when y is equal to 0. And you say, and this one would change to x is equal to 1. And that's what we've got. So when y is equal to 0, which is this one here, and this one here, x is equal to -2, which is what we said, x is equal to 1, which is what we said over here. So to find out these intercepts, we imagine the equation as if, so this equation here, as if x is equal to 0, and we imagine it as if y was equal to 0. And as I said, to work out the turning point, we have to do something called completing the square. So that is how you do that. Now, I'm just going to, we're just going to have a look at the next one now, the next problem. So let me just get my mouse back again on Zoom Annotate. Right, here we go. And I'm going to erase my drawings. So now we're going to have a look. Let's have a look at equation 2. So equation 2, we've got y is equal to x squared plus 3x plus 2. Well, first of all, the y, what's the value? What's the value for y when x equals 0? Well, when x equals 0, y is going to equal to 0 squared plus 3x plus 2. Well, sorry, plus 3 times 0 plus 2. So y is going to be equal just to 2. So that means, so if we get our pen, so y is going to equal to 2. So in other words, let's do the coordinates, 0, 2. Now we're going to say, well, what about for the x-axis? X-axis is when y is equal to 0. So it's this situation, because we've already factorized it. We factorized it earlier on, and it was x plus 2 times by x plus 1. We've got it other way around here, but anyway. X plus 2 is equal to 0, so therefore x must be equal either to minus 1 or x is equal to minus 2. So yeah, so it's going to be over here and over here, minus 1, minus 2. So it's going to look something like this, without a bump like that. But so x squared plus 3x plus 2. Let's just see if I can remember that. X squared plus 3x plus 2. Let's add another one. Y is equal to x squared plus 3x, I've forgotten it already, plus 2. And we'll turn this one off. And I said it was going to intercept at 2, minus 1, minus 2, didn't I? Yeah. Okay. So that's how you, and again, like I said, the intercept here, these minimum points here, that's we need to complete the square to find that out. Okay.